And good morning and welcome to Nature Watch. Nature Watch is sponsored by Waddell's Nursery, Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. And now your host of Nature Watch, it's Gary Miller. Good morning.
Good morning. Hopefully I'm not as tongue-tied as you are this morning.
Yeah. So how's your pit spillers doing, huh? Hey, on cue, we go at it's the end of May, obviously May 31st. Tomorrow's June 1st, and what happens? Temperature goes up.
Yeah, and then it's going to come down again for a little bit. But at least we're not as hot as they're predicting out west.
Right.
They're maybe going to have some record temperatures over 100 out that way. And most of the west from down in California all the way up into like Washington, Idaho, maybe. Well, Boise, Idaho might be over 100 degrees today.
Well, 88 isn't exactly sweater weather, and that's where we're heading to probably on Tuesday.
And we're probably going to be very humid, so the heat indices may be up in the 90s on Tuesday, so it might be very uncomfortable. We're not used to it anyway.
Right. And then was it Thursday I saw we are back down around 69, 70.
Yes.
But then the yo-yo continues.
So
it's
we're
up
still on that
down.
Temperature roller coaster.
This is more of a normal Michigan summer to me. So it's not summer yet. Tomorrow it's technically the meteorological first day of summer, technically.
Yeah.
June 21st, obviously, the summer.
Yes.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, it's
So Scott Larson actually had something interesting in the news this morning. For the month of May, Kalamazoo was 2.5 degrees cooler than average.
I believe it. That's rare for the last few years.
Grand Rapids was at 1.8 degrees, but yeah, we're just on the cool side. And we're actually up to Thursday. They came out with another confirmed tornado from that storm several weeks ago. So we're up to number 28 in Michigan, over 900 in the U.S., one of the most stormiest tornado springs that we've had on record.
Yeah.
Not the most so far, but we're getting close.
And we still have June, July, and August, it gets. That's usually when our severe weather shows up. Ignore May 13th, May 7th, whatever. Usually in June, July, August, that's when it starts getting nasty.
June especially because but you also get those pop-up storms and you get that heat buildup and energy buildup later on in the summer too. But,
right.
June's a big storm month. It really is. So yeah, we're way up there. So besides the air quality alert from the smoke from the Canadian wildfires that kept it very hazy yesterday, there's a Saharan dust cloud that's floating around the Earth, and we may see some of that in about a week's time. Not going to really affect the air quality, but it's going to actually have some fantastic colored sunsets.
Okay, I can deal with that because I don't want to shelter for an entire week because of bad air.
So besides the smoke out there, the smoke particulates, that's why we have the air quality alert. We've got tree pollens out there. Tree pollens are really heavy right now. You've got pines and spruces that are pollinating. What's really heavy, besides those, are the wild black cherry and the black locusts. You can see all the locust trees in bloom right now when you're driving down the road because they're just these trees covered in white. The black cherries are coming out. They look very similar. And I can usually tell when I'm getting close to a grove of black locust trees because my eyes start getting a little watery and I start stuffing up a little bit.
This has been a horrible, horrible spring for me as far as my allergies go. Man, I'm just a walking train wreck here.
Well, and the joy of getting older, that they tend to bother you more and more every year too, so it doesn't help very much.
Right.
So on the way in this morning, I had to laugh. The two deer that I had to wait for several weeks ago, at the same crossing spot, are waiting for me to cross. And I think one of the deer that was one of those two deer, they're not fully grown. I think one of those is the one that was standing in the middle of the road that was mooning me the other week. And I'm guessing his buddy was off the side laughing and daring him to stay there.
These deer are getting territorial because I have a similar story. 131 South between Center Avenue and U. In the same location 2 days in a row, I saw a deer. I'm just like, man, what, you guys staking out a claim here or something?
Well, they have their rounds. They're pretty well set in their ways. They make their rounds grazing here and there. And,
but it was the same time of the morning. That was the wild thing.
So actually we had some severe weather elsewhere this last week. San Antonio, Texas. I don't know if you saw the photos of the hailstorm or after the hailstorm. They were shoveling it. They were shoveling it. ground was totally white, and they were showing some spots along the side roads and parking lots that it was a couple of feet deep.
Wow.
That was the small stuff. So actually, I saw some videos, and it was, when I say small stuff, it was that half-inch to inch diameter.
Yeah.
They also had a few spots around San Antonio that had baseball and grapefruit size. Wow. This is the same location about 2 weeks ago that had CD size, over 5.25-inch diameter hail. They were showing some photos. I had seen some photos of car windows broken out and everything. You know, that's when it's going to hurt and leave a mark.
When we start having bowling ball sized hail, I think people will start noticing.
So big hail, and we haven't gotten much rain. So last
No, we
week,
didn't.
Last week, almost a week and a half ago, Tuesday, I had about a little over an inch of rain. We are still in the abnormally dry condition in the drought monitor. This last Wednesday, I thought maybe we got a couple of tenths. It was nice, slow drizzle in that. I had a tenth.
Yep.
A tenth of an inch. I thought I told one of my coworkers I think I could spit more than a tenth.
gloomy, just not very spring-like, late spring-like
It was
weather
cool,
or anything
and
like
it was
that.
wet, and it was wet enough you couldn't do anything. Like I was planning on mowing my yard Wednesday night, and I couldn't because it was too wet. So
It was too wet, but it's still not enough.
no, and we're got a chance. Scott Larson was saying this morning got a chance from half an inch to an inch, maybe this next Tuesday, Wednesday. It looks like Wednesday. I'm guessing it's probably Wednesday because that's my day off. I almost guarantee if it's going to rain, it's going to be on my day off. It's just about every year I've been at Waddell's, it's been about true. It doesn't matter what the day is. Pick a day. That's the day it's going to rain if it's going to rain.
That's just too wild. Okay, we around here about this time in the morning, we do give away a $20 gift card to Waddell's. What Gary does is give you a trivia question. Occasionally it's a softball. Occasionally he makes you work. But the first correct caller with the correct answer to Gary's trivia question will win a $20 gift card to Waddell's.
So this one might be a softball. It might be a little bit of work, not a lot of work. I ran across another interesting fact about Baltimore Orioles. So I thought was another trivia question of Baltimore Orioles. We've seen them out and hearing them right now in the yards. So Baltimore Orioles, you always think of that orange and black, especially the males, very bright orange. So how old are they when they turn that bright orange? So how old are the male Baltimore Orioles when they turn bright orange?
Oh, okay. 269-382-4280. First correct caller with the answer with the correct answer, I should say, will win a gift card. Simple as that.
We'll see. They're frantically Googling. I'm sure they're going to find it fairly soon. But
I have no clue. I have no clue. I don't know.
I thought it was an interesting fact about him. So actually, tomorrow is the 1st of June. It's hard to believe May's already over with, the last day of May. And June is National Pollinators Month. So we've got, try to have plants for feeding those pollinators, both adults and larvae. And butterflies, you always think of butterflies and bees, but you also have some moths and hummingbirds that do a lot of pollination. So pollinators, such as bees, and bees are the ones we mainly think about, are important to our food production system. More than 100 U.S.-grown crops rely on pollinators to produce their fruit and their products. And in the U.S., there are 4,000 types of bees. 4,000. Wow. About 3,600 of those are natives. The other 400 plus or minus are bees that they've imported, i.e. the honeybee.
Okay.
And the other neat thing about bees, as far as honeybees, a queen bee produces a pheromone that unites the entire hive. So that's what keeps the hive together, is that queen bee.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh. Good morning, WKZO. Who is this?
Good morning. This is Jay.
Hey, Jay. You got a guess for the question? Let me see if I remember the question. How old are Baltimore Orioles for the males when their feathers turn orange?
Right, the bright orange. Correct.
I want to say fall of their second year.
Yep. So actually, you're correct. In the second year, it's actually towards the end of the second year. They all vary. They're unique individuals like we are, so everyone's a little bit different. But typically, towards the end of that second year, and so to be that fall, and they typically don't attract. They need that color typically to attract a mate. Though sometimes the drab feathered males will attract a mate, and surprisingly, every time they molt, they get a little bit brighter orange. The females do the same thing. So older females may be as bright orange as the males.
Yes.
Oh, cool. I learn something every time I come in this building, I swear.
That's why we listen.
That's right. Jay, congratulations. You're our big winner. Can you hold on the line for a moment?
Sure can.
Excellent. And I'll get back with Jay during the break and get his information from him and tell him how he can pick up his prize. And we'll come back with more Nature Watch after this here on WKZO.
Waddell's Nursery, Florist, and Garden Center has been adding color to landscapes with top-quality plants in the Kalamazoo area for 79 years. Waddell's greenhouses and nursery beds are filled with the colorful blooms you've been waiting for. Check out the great selection of potted blooming annuals and gorgeous hanging baskets. Just in time to get vegetable gardens planted, get your tomato, pepper, and other veggie plants on sale for only $1.79. Check out Waddell's huge selection of garden seeds, as well as fruit plants like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and more. A beauty to add color to shady areas is caladium plants. They're on sale this week for just $10.99. See Waddells.com for these specials, plus many more to brighten up your outdoor living area. And if you're looking for some ideas, come in to talk to the garden experts and wander the acres of blooming plants at Waddell's Nursery, Florist, and Garden Center, located on Texas Drive at the corner of Millam and 12th Street.
Local news is like the most important stuff to me.
You know what's going on in your local community.
Kalamazoo's official online local news source is WKZO.com.
8:44, sunshine 49 outside. Beautiful day to get out and enjoy nature, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
It'll be nice and comfortable out there today.
Yeah.
Maybe a little jacket, a little breezy today, but still going to be nice and comfortable. And good day to take a nice hike and maybe do some birding.
Right.
Couple events coming up this next week. So next Saturday, the 7th, from 9:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. at the Kalamazoo Nature Center, the Kalamazoo Astronomical Society is doing another public observing session. And the highlight of the night are going to be the moon and double stars of spring. So hopefully we have some clear skies so they can do that. Next Saturday, earlier in the day, so in the morning, is the beginning birders walk at the Wolf Lake Fish Hatchery. Members of the Audubon Society of Kalamazoo help lead folks, whether they're experienced or very inexperienced. They usually have some binoculars available, and they do a little hike around the fish hatchery and see what birds they can observe. So something to do. What you can do is dress up to do that. Wear some of your finest birding attire, because starting at 10 a.m. next Saturday, Waddell's has their garden tea party. So wear some of your finest birding attire, and if you really want to get into it, so we can see some neat birds at Waddell's. Sometimes we may see some of the killdeer that usually nest on the islands in the parking lot, and sometimes we get an indigo bunting that comes in by our big waterfall in the nursery area. But if you really want to get into it, bring your binoculars, wear your fancy birding attire. So that goes from 10 to 1. And if you're a collector of automobiles, maybe you could really get into the spirit of the things, and you may be lucky and you could drive your tea bird in to the tea party.
Oh. One of our favorites is on the phone. Good station friend, Mary from Lawton. Hi, Mary.
Good morning, guys.
Hi, Mary.
Hi there, Gary. I've been enjoying watching and feeding the Baltimore Orioles with oranges and grape jelly, and I was wondering, will they stick around all summer?
Yes, they typically do. So they'll most times return to the same location or very near the same location. They nest in the same vicinity, usually the same tree, for a lot of years. I've been in my house for over 30 years. We've had a pair of Baltimore Orioles in our large maple tree in our front yard that have had a nest in that tree every year. So they come back. I'm sure it's not the same ones that were originally there, but we've always had a pair that nest there. And then I've had a couple other pair that nest in some nearby trees.
Do they also enjoy the tulip tree flowers?
Yeah, so they might, because they will do get a little bit of nectar. They have that fuzzy tongue, so they can actually probe those tulip flowers on the tulip tree. Mm-hmm. And they also eat insects in that, so they don't just rely on those sweets, though they have that sweet tooth, so they really like that nectar and obviously in the oranges and the grape jelly. But it is fun to watch them on the feeder. I know one of the Baltimore Orioles in our yard has been trying to get some nectar out of the hummingbird feeder. I'm not sure how well they've succeeded, but I'm guessing with their tongue they maybe could have probed in there a little bit, but the opening is so small for the hummingbird, so I'm guessing they didn't get a whole lot.
Right. Well, I appreciate it, guys, and I enjoy the show, and really enjoying watching these Baltimore Orioles this spring.
Well, they're fun to listen to, too. I always know when they arrive back from their winter travels and have migrated back north, because usually the male arrives a few days before the female and typically finds the tallest branch that they can sit on. Sometimes in years past, they've sat on the cap of the chimney, and so they're up there quite a ways, and so they just sit up there and sing away, trying to entice that female to come back, and sometimes they're just singing to themselves, I think. But it's fun to see, and you can usually see them then. Once they get that female and they start building the nest, you can hear them. You might usually see them at the feeder, but trying to figure out where they're building that nest, they're pretty secretive about that. You can usually follow them getting close to the vicinity, but they always seem to hide that nest behind some leaves and branches that makes it almost impossible to see.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate it. 269-382-4280 if you want to join us here on Nature Watch, or if you don't want to talk to us, but you do want to talk to us, you can text to 80373. Again, if you're calling in, I am a one-man band once again today, so give me time to run over to the other studio and answer, like now.
So the Baltimore Oriole, actually some other neat facts, were actually affected by the Dutch elm disease that wiped out most of our elm trees. The elm trees, because of their graceful arching branches, were actually a preferred tree for the Baltimore Orioles. So with all those elm trees that died away, it actually affected the population of the Baltimore Orioles. So they did have some slight decrease because of that and losing all those elm trees. So they've adapted to other trees. Gone to maples, and I know the one pair of Baltimore Orioles had one nesting in a hickory tree, had one in a quaking aspen. So they do move around and adapt to that, but they do miss those elm trees. Another thing is the males, besides singing, they try to impress the females by dancing. So the males immediately establish their nesting territory when they arrive, and then they work to impress females with a dancing routine. The male bows to the female, hops around her, and spreads his wings to show off his orange coloring. When she flutters her wings and calls back to him, the deal is sealed. So something to watch if you have a chance to really observe the Orioles. Yeah. And the Orioles also use singing to defend their territory. So they don't defend big areas of territory from each other, but they typically just defend their nesting area in that immediate area. And so if male feels like he needs to assert his boundaries in that, he sings. And so if you can hear him sing, stay away from here.
Okay. I do have a call hanging out here. Gene joins us, wants to talk about something about a hummingbird feeder, I do believe. Am I right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, I thought so. Good morning.
Jane.
Good morning. I have 3 hummingbird feeders. I have not seen a single hummingbird. They have been here before by this time of year, and I know it's been colder. What I do have are squirrels who think that feeder is for them, and they keep trashing the feeder.
Wow. So you have some squirrels with a sweet tooth, obviously.
Well, in the past they have said with bird food, with the seed, you put cayenne pepper in there, and it'll keep them out of the seed feeder. I'm wondering if I used the liquid capsaicin, which is the hot chemical that they do sell for digestive health in like the natural food stores for people. Wondering if I dropped some of that into the liquid, would it keep get the squirrels to go away, but not harm the hummingbirds?
Yeah, so the hummingbirds wouldn't be affected by the hot pepper. And I know we've got products at Waddell's. We've got one that is more of that hot pepper, more of a powder type of thing. You mix it with a little bit of vegetable oil and put it on the bird seed to keep those squirrels away. It's fine enough that you can do something like that. You're going to have to try some different things with the feeder. Obviously, the squirrels have developed quite a sweet tooth. And have you observed the squirrels actually destroying the feeder or really tearing into it, or you just see the results afterwards?
Oh, yeah. No, I've got 2 feeders that have the little flower inserts, and they take and they pull those little plugs out, and they're up there. I chase them away all the time. They will knock the feeders off of the perch. I'm just ready to. I've got an airsoft gun that I've been nailing them with. They're just not taking the hint.
Yeah, I just asked if you'd observed because it also sounds like some activity that a rambunctious raccoon might do. Obviously, the squirrels have learned how to do that. They can get that way. May have to try some different squirrel baffles or so. Worst case scenario, I guess you grit your teeth and bite the bullet, and you get some ears of corn and feed the squirrels off a ways. Maybe you can try to entice them to stay away from the hummingbird feeders.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
May have to do is get if you can get the hummingbird feeders so the squirrels can't drop on top of them from adjoining trees or jump to there from shrubs or bushes and that are nearby, and you've got them on a pole that they can't climb up. Then you might be able to train them to stay away.
Do you think maybe that she might want to move the hummingbird?
Yes, you may have to move it a little bit. And actually, what you may want to do is, if you really want to try to push them away, maybe feed the squirrels, pull the hummingbird feeders for about a week or so. Retrain the squirrels and then try to put the hummingbird feeders up again. Maybe move them a little bit so they're not as easily for the squirrels to actually get up on them. You don't have to play with that. The squirrels, they learn new activities and new ways to get the things. They do that with the bird feeders all the time, with the seed feeders. So I guess
that's what I'm thinking is that the seed feeders are in the same place that the hummingbird feeders are now.
Yeah, so you may want to move the hummingbird feeders if you
during
can.
the winter.
Yeah, so if you can move the hummingbird feeders, might help maybe train those squirrels to stay away. And like I said, if you really have to, you may have to feed the squirrels too.
But if I were to put the liquid capsaicin into the syrup or the hummingbird feeder food, that's not going to hurt the hummingbirds or deter them.
Yeah, typically not hurt the hummingbirds. I might even think about not doing it directly in the nectar, but you could actually maybe apply it on the outside of the feeder. So when the squirrels tend to get up there, they're going to be licking their paws at some point. They may pull that in too. I don't believe it's going to affect the hummingbirds in the nectar though. Typically, they don't have the taste buds that would be affected by capsaicin or hot pepper.
Okay, I just wanted to, didn't want to hurt the hummingbirds, and if they get a hot tongue on the squirrels, good for them.
Yeah, those squirrels can be, they're entertaining, but they're also frustrating when they get into a feeder, any kind of feeder.
Oh, boy. Okay, Gene, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. This is why Rocket J Squirrel was the smart one of that duo.
Yes. So actually that brings up a point about keeping your hummingbirds safe in your yard. And so you try to prevent hummingbird predators from actually getting a chance to attack those birds. Probably the biggest one are feral cats or just cats that are in the yard. Hummingbirds tend to hover in that little location, and most times the feeders are just low enough that a cat could jump up and get one. Other predators that you may have to keep an eye out for are snakes. So sometimes, depending on if you have that feeder somewhere where a snake could actually be waiting there for that hummingbird to show up. But surprisingly, the other one, and we don't think of it very often, are the praying mantises. So a large praying mantis, typically the female, can grab the hummingbird with its pincers and suck out the juice of the bird. So you want to make sure watch those feeders. Make sure that they don't have any predators that are going to attack those hummingbirds. Nesting hummingbirds their nests are actually targets for snakes, lizards, blue jays, crows, ravens, squirrels, chipmunks, and raccoons. So it's hard to monitor nests because they're usually way up in the tree, and it's a very small nest. So if you get really lucky and you actually see one, maybe keep an eye out on it. But typically, you're not going to see where their nests are.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's wrap up the show with another phone call here, 269-382-4280. I didn't get your name. What's your name again?
Lois.
Okay. And you have a question about woodpeckers.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Okay. A woodpecker decided to take up residency around here. But now, is it only the males that try to find bugs in the bark?
Oh, no, the females do that too.
They do that. Well, how much harder is the bill for a woodpecker? That looks like a good way to get a headache than other birds.
Yeah, so woodpecker bills are actually a little harder than most birds, and they're structured and their shape is such that they can actually withstand that jarring. They also have a cushion. Their tongue actually goes around their skull, and they have a sort of a cushion effect from that jarring that they have with actually pecking into the trees. Their bills are made of similar material like our fingernails, and they're constantly growing. So they do need to do some pecking to actually so they don't get too big or long.
Oh.
And they a lot of times, besides just looking for insects, will use and peck on trees to use as a sounding, so to actually communicate with each other.
Oh my!
So, and it's hard to tell sometimes male and female. So sometimes the females look very much like the male. So
is making all that noise in the morning and not at night.
Oh, probably because the air is still, so they can communicate with the other woodpeckers. Say, hey, this is my territory. Don't come near me.
No, there you go. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. And Gary, thank you. You're obviously on your way to work.
Yes, actually, it's been a nice, comfortable day today.
There you go. And enjoy. I do have a text that came in. I'll read it to you after when we put a wrap on the show, and then we'll open up over the garden fence with it. Gary, again, thank you so much, and thank you for listening to this edition of Nature Watch. Tune in each Saturday at 8:30 in the morning for Nature Watch. Brought to you by Waddell's Nursery, Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. CBS and local news is up next, and then Over the Garden Fence on 590 and 106.9 FM, WKZO.